Hello and welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show, the cheapest show on the internet. My name is Greg and I like scampi, but I don't like salmon. We're going to start the show slightly differently this week. I want to show you something that I've brought in from my garden. I've always been a fan of pub games, so I like playing darts, billiards, pool, and about 15 years ago my brother bought me a dartboard for Christmas, and it's had a lot of use, and as can happen with dartboards, the fibres inside start to get a little bit frayed and they start to poke out through the coloured bits around the numbers. So about 2 years ago we decided we'd hang it outside. So I put a nail in the wall of the garage and we'd play outside on nice summer evenings, and then we'd bring it in to keep it away from the elements. Until earlier this year, when in a senior moment I completely forgot that I was supposed to bring it indoors, so our dartboard has been outside exposed to all sorts of weather for the last 3 months or so. So it's been out there in 35-degree heat for about 3 days in a row. It's been absolutely soaked by torrential rain, and it's been battered by the wind, and last week it actually got blown off the wall. So I'm going to show you what happens to a dartboard if you leave it outside in all weathers. So it's a bit waterlogged, so it's a bit heavy. And for a start, I can tell you this absolutely stinks because it's been in this bag for about a week. Have you ever done that where you play sports like football wearing the thick socks and they get absolutely soaked, and then you forget about them and leave them in a bag, and about a month later you go to play again and get them out, there's that horrible musty damp smell? Imagine that multiplied about 50 times. So this is the current state of the Powles family dartboard, and you won't see things like this being used at the BDO or the PDC World Championships, but I'm insistent that we can still keep playing with this thing, but my wife has told me as soon as this show finishes this has to be removed and sent to the tip. But you know, the QVG shopping channel is still open, so if you want to put a bid in for our used dartboard and play it at home, you can. Right, I've got, oh my goodness, so those fibres I mentioned are now basically all over the desk. This is what the inside of a dartboard looks like, so I'm going to have some serious hoovering and clearing up to do later, and I'm just going to try not to breathe in any of those fibres throughout the course of the show. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different show this week because this is show number 13. And I like the number 13, a lot of people don't, but I've always found it quite a lucky, happy number. Maybe it's just me being a non-conformist. Everybody says you're supposed to be scared of the number 13, so I automatically like it. I did pass my driving test on the 13th of December. Whether that stuck in my mind, I don't know. But for a start, 13 weeks is a quarter of a year, right? So I've now been doing this for a quarter of 2020, which absolutely blows my mind for a start. And when I originally started this, I did think about maybe doing like a run of 12 shows and then having a week off to regroup and restart, and then do another week of 12-week shows and then have another week off to regroup and restart. So over the course of a year we'll have 4 series. But I'm a creature of habit and I like my little routines, and I've got so used to doing this on a Friday morning though that I think I would really miss it. So we're just going to keep on going. But I did want to mark the fact that this is show number 13, and I think it should be slightly different. So we're not going to do the usual gubbins on the Door of Delights. There's no Seagulls update because there's no Premier League football this weekend. It's an international break. But we are going to mention our show mascot, which is this Galapagos penguin. Because I said last week I think this guy needs to be given a name, and I've had some suggestions. So Pogo has been suggested, which I think is a nice name for a young penguin. Dave has been suggested. Do we really want this show to be watched over by a mascot called Dave the Penguin? But I've had a thought today, because it's show number 13, I think the name 13 quite suits him. It's a character name from House, which of course is one of the best TV shows of all time. Today is the 13th show, and I think it just kind of suits him. So we'll ruminate on that for a little while and think about it. You can let me know your thoughts, and we will officially name him next week. But that's all we're going to do on the Door of Delights for this week. There's no Gregometer either, because I have hijacked the Gregometer display and reprogrammed it to display the number 13 for show number 13. So it's not the usual kind of show, which I think is quite fun. We can be a bit more loose with it and just do what we like. But because it's show 13, I have looked up some interesting stuff all about the number 13 that I thought I would share with you. So here we go. A few fun things about the number 13. No one knows for sure why it's considered unlucky. Doesn't matter where you look, there's no real... There used to be like a coven of witches was 13 witches, they think it might come from that, but there's no real definitive answer about why in a lot of cultures 13 is considered unlucky. I did find a documentary on the History Channel, which was all about numbers, and it includes this quote. The ancient... I should do it like a History Channel voiceover voice, The ancient Sumerians developed a numeral system based on the use of 12 that is still used for measuring time today. Most calendars have 12 months. A single day is comprised of two 12-hour half-days, etc. Following so closely on the heels of a perfect number, some argue the poor 13 was sure to be found lacking and unusual. But there's no real understanding of why. St Thomas's Hospital in London got so fed up with superstitious patients refusing to be allocated bed number 13 that they banned the number from all their wards. But on the other side of that, in Vancouver, Canada, the city building planners got so fed up with the confusion of buildings having alternative names like the 12B floor or floor 14A, that in 2015 they banned builders from not calling it the 13th floor. So from now on, if you build a building in Vancouver, it has to have floor 13. Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was US President from 1933 to 1945, almost 13 years, had a mild fear of the number 13. He would never schedule travel on Friday the 13th, and throughout his entire life and his entire political career, he refused to take part in meetings or social gatherings where there were 13 people sat together. I think that's a very interesting way to deal with international relations. You have like the president of Uganda over and say, welcome to the White House, we're going to provide some food, but your wife is going to have to sit in the corridor with a pot noodle because we've already got 12 people in the room. And one more fact for you, it turns out that quite a few well-known serial killers had 13 letters in their names. So think of Theodore Bundy, Charles Manson, Jack the Ripper, Albert DeSalvo, and Jeffrey Dahmer. They all have 13 letters in their name. Can I just point out right now that on my birth certificate, my first name is actually Gregory. So my full name is Gregory Powles. That's GregoryPowles. Let's move on to outfit roulette. Now, again, this was only supposed to be a little thing that happened at the end of the show to randomise what I wear, but it's become much more than that. It takes over half the show. But I wanted to point out that we did it last week. We randomised it in a very, very insanely random way. But I think the combo it came up with is one I've worn before. I think if you go back and watch episode 5, I was wearing this shirt, this jacket, and these glasses. So we need to mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to take this shirt off the list, so this combination can't come up again, and we're going to replace it with one of my wife's dresses, because, you know, why not? So that's that. And something else I have to point out about outfit roulette is I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to be wearing blue glasses, and it's been pointed out to me that if you watch that video, they actually came across looking brown or almost black. So I've gone back and had a look, and they're absolutely right. Now, I don't know whether it's because I was wearing bright orange and there was a bright sunshine for a change through the window, but they didn't look the colour that they actually are. So I thought what I would do, because I knew there is a way, there's something that happens with certain colours when you put them together. There's like a colour wheel, isn't there, that you can look at, and certain artists won't put certain colours together because one colour takes away from the other one and makes it look more faded. So I thought I'd look into it, and I thought I would do like an Einstein's Toolbox science show special explaining it. But after a day of researching it, I had a headache and I was more and more confused and I didn't understand it, and I thought if I try and explain it to someone else, I might as well try and explain the inner workings of a badger's digestive system. I have no clue what I'm talking about. It would be the blind leading the blind. So let me just tell you, it's something to do with colour shift, something to do with colour bleed, something to do with white balance. It's something to do with the way that blue light doesn't pass very well through glass. And of course the lens of a camera is made of glass. If you want to know more, please look it up for yourself. I'm not going to do any more research on it, but please let me assure you that these glasses that I wore that week are in fact blue. And I've taken the orange jacket off the outfit roulette board, so hopefully we won't have that problem again. So let's do this week's outfit roulette. I've decided after all the shenanigans last week, we're just going to stick with using the Rubik's Cube, but I've got a new method. I'm going to spin it instead of rolling it so that it actually randomizes it a bit more. So take a deep breath and stand by for motion sickness as I move the camera down towards the desk. So this is what I'm going to wear next week. If I spin it like that, we're going to end up with black. Please remember this with me. So black, green, and orange. So black, green and orange, and they're going to bring you back up to my level. Hello my friends, nice to see you again. Black, green and orange means that next week I will be wearing my big white jumper, my wife's dress, of course, and lipstick. Next week will be a cross-dressing special, my friends. Do join me for that. And that's all I want to tell you this week. I don't know how much time we've had. I cheekily this week, with it being the number 13 and with me throwing the rules out of the window, set the timer for 13 minutes and 13 seconds. I don't know how long we've got left, but I'm happy to call it a day there and go and celebrate show 13. A rhyming couplet to end the show with. I hope my efforts every week might entertain and thrill ya. And even though there's 13 letters in my name, I promise not to kill ya. I'll see you next week. Have a great 7 days.